Level 1, $20,000. You make $10 an hour. You know this number better than your own phone password. It follows you into the grocery store. It follows you into the gas station. It follows you into every room where someone asks what you do for work and you answer quickly, like speed can make the sentence smaller. After taxes, the paycheck is not a paycheck. It is a countdown. Rent takes the first piece. A room in someone else's house. Not an apartment. A room. The kind where you learn the sound of other people's footsteps through the ceiling. The kind where the kitchen has rules written on a whiteboard. Food takes the second piece. Rice, eggs, noodles. Whatever is cheap enough to make you feel like you made a decision. You did not. The number decided. At $20,000, choice is mostly decoration. You can choose the flavor but not the life. Your car has 211,000 miles. The left speaker stopped working last winter. The check engine light turns on and off like it has moods. You put $12 of gas in at a time because filling the tank feels irresponsible. Everything is split into trades. Gas or lunch. Phone bill or groceries. Laundry or the medicine you said you would pick up 2 days ago. One Thursday, your card declines buying toothpaste, bread, and a small bottle of detergent. The total is $13.82. The cashier looks at the screen. You look at your banking app. The transfer is pending. Pending is a beautiful word when you have money. At this level, pending means no. You step aside. The person behind you pretends not to watch. You pretend not to notice them pretending. That night, you sit on the edge of the bed in the room you rent. The house is quiet except for the television downstairs. You open job listings. Every job that pays more wants experience. Every job that gives experience pays the same. The loop is not dramatic. That is what makes it hard to explain. Work, pay, survive, repeat. The first rule at $20,000 is simple. You do not manage money. MO. Level 2, $35,000. The first time direct deposit hits, it feels official. Not rich, not free, official. You have benefits now. A badge, a title in your email signature. Something about the way people say full-time makes you stand a little differently. You move into a small apartment. 1 bedroom, thin walls, old carpet, a kitchen with 3 drawers and a stove that leans slightly to the left. But the door locks behind you, and everything inside the room is yours. That silence feels expensive. You buy groceries without counting each item in the cart. You fill the gas tank all the way. You stand there watching the numbers climb past what used to be your weekly food money, and instead of fear, you feel something strange. Room. Not comfort yet. Room. But $35,000 is not safety. It is the first version of not drowning. Rent is $1,100. Car insurance went up. The electric bill is higher than you expected because heat costs money and so does being alive indoors. You check your account every Friday. Not shaking. Not panicking. Just checking. The number is usually low, but it is not terrifying. That middle place between panic and progress is where $35,000 lives. You start saying yes to small things. Lunch with coworkers. A birthday gift. A haircut before you actually need one. The first time you buy new shoes without waiting for the old ones to split, you feel ridiculous for feeling proud. But you are proud. You do not tell anyone that. People around you still seem ahead. One coworker talks about a weekend trip. Another complains about student loan payments bigger than your rent used to be. Someone says they are broke while holding a $7 coffee and wearing a watch that costs half your savings. You realize broke means different things at different heights. At $20,000, broke meant danger. At $35,000, broke means delay. The second rule at $35,000. You are not free yet. But for the first time, tomorrow starts to look different from yesterday. Level 3, $50,000. You are average now. Not average like failure. Average like the world finally stopped staring at you. You have the normal things. A decent apartment. Car that starts. A credit card you pay off most months. A dentist appointment you do not cancel because of the estimate. Your fridge has food in it. Not ingredients you are trying to stretch into survival. Food. Options. Something fresh in the drawer. You go to dinner and do not open your banking app in the parking lot first. That used to feel impossible. Now it feels ordinary. And ordinary is where the next discomfort begins. One night you run the numbers. $50,000 a year. Normal raises. Normal rent increases. Normal life. The spreadsheet says you will be okay. Okay lands heavier than you expected. You stare at the screen and feel something that is not fear. It is disappointment. Quiet. Slow. Hard to defend against. You did everything people told you to do. You worked. You showed up. You got promoted. You stopped making excuses. And somehow, doing everything right built a life that still feels small. At work, you find out by accident that Marcus makes $82,000. Same building. Same parking lot. Different department. Different air around him. He talks about replacing his countertops. You are thinking about whether your car needs brakes this month or next month. The gap between $50,000 and $82,000 is not $32,000. It is weekends. It is confidence. It is the ability to have a problem and not turn it into a crisis. You are grateful when you look back. You are hungry when you look forward. That is the punishment of the middle. You can see both directions clearly. You remember $20,000, and it keeps you humble. You see $100,000, and it keeps you awake. The third rule at $50,000. You are stable enough to stop panicking. And once panic leaves, ambition walks in. Level 4. $75,000. Something changes in the morning. Money is not the first thought anymore. It is still there. It still moves through every decision. But it is no longer sitting on your chest before your eyes open. You move to a better apartment. Not luxury, just better. More light, quieter walls. A second bedroom you call an office even though it has a desk, a laundry basket, and 3 boxes you never unpacked. You sleep differently. That is the part nobody talks about. At $75,000, the upgrades are not always visible. Sometimes the upgrade is your nervous system not preparing for impact every time your phone buzzes. You book a flight without waiting 3 weeks for the price to drop. You buy the better groceries. You replace a tire before it becomes an emergency. The math works now. Not perfectly. Quietly. Your friends notice before you do. Someone says, "You're doing pretty well." You laugh because the sentence feels too big for the life you are living. But later, alone, you think about it. Maybe you are. Then the distance starts. Not all at once. In small silences. You stop mentioning your apartment around the friend still renting a room. You stop talking about travel around the cousin working double shifts. You do not want to sound different, so you become careful. Careful becomes quiet. Quiet becomes distance. You are not better than anyone. But your problems have changed shape, and that matters more than people admit. At $20,000, a flat tire was a threat. At $75,000, it is annoying. That difference changes your face when someone else tells you they are scared. You try to remember exactly how it felt. You can still remember, but memory is not the same as living there. The fourth rule at $75,000. Money gets quiet. And when money gets quiet, you finally hear what else has been missing. Level 5, $100,000. 6 figures. The number everyone talks about like it is a finish line. You thought it would feel like music, like the moment a crowd stands up, like a door opening into a life where the old questions stop asking themselves. Instead, it feels like logging into payroll and seeing a bigger number with smaller magic than you expected. Taxes take more than you imagined. Insurance, retirement, rent, life. The number is large in conversation and smaller in your account. Your family thinks you made it. Your coworkers think you are normal. Your landlord thinks you can afford the rent increase. The same salary becomes 3 different stories depending on who is looking. You stop saying the number out loud. Not because you are humble. Because $100,000 makes people strange. Cousin asks for help. A friend jokes that dinner is on you. Someone online says 6 figures is nothing now. Someone else says you are rich and should stop complaining. Everyone has an opinion about a number they do not have to live inside. You upgrade pieces of your life. Better clothes, better apartment, better restaurants, better phone, better everything around the edges. But the deepest part of you does not change as fast as the outside does. You still pause before buying expensive things. You still feel guilty when a meal costs too much. You still hear the old voice doing math in the background. The jump from $20,000 to $35,000 changed your survival. The jump from $75,000 to $100,000 changes your options. And options are strange. When you have none, you dream about them. When you have many, you have to become someone who can choose. One night, you sit in your upgraded apartment, looking at the city through a window you used to imagine having. Everything is better. So why does better feel so unfinished? The fifth rule at $100,000. Six figures is not a destination. It is the moment you realize the map was bigger than you thought. Level 6, $150,000. Life changes visibly now. Not dramatically. Visibly. The car is newer. The apartment has amenities. The vacations are real vacations, not long weekends where you pack snacks because airport food is insulting. You start paying for convenience. Delivery fees. Direct flights. Better seats. Someone to fix what you used to spend 3 Saturdays learning online. First, it feels wasteful. Then it feels normal. That is how lifestyle creep works. Not as greed. As relief repeated until it becomes expectation. But the bigger change is social. You stop relating to certain conversations the same way. A friend says they cannot cover a $400 emergency. You know what that sentence means. You lived inside that sentence. But now $400 is inconvenient, not catastrophic. You hate the distance in yourself. You say the right things. You help when you can. You listen. Still, some part of you has crossed a bridge. You start measuring money in freedom. Can I leave this job? Can I take a month off? Can I say no without the whole structure collapsing? At $150,000, the answer is almost. Not yes. Almost. And almost becomes its own kind of pressure. Because now you can see freedom clearly enough to resent the things still holding you. The sixth rule at $150,000. Money stops being the whole conversation. It becomes the silence underneath every choice you can finally afford to make. Level 7, $250,000. The language changes. Tax strategy, equity, asset allocation, deferred compensation. You hear yourself using phrases that would have annoyed you 10 years ago. Your accountant costs more than your first car. Your calendar has calls with people who use the word portfolio like it is weather. The rooms are different now. Not louder, quieter. Restaurants where nobody checks the bill. Meetings where everyone assumes success before anyone proves it. Weekends where the cheap option is not discussed because cost stopped being the first filter. Your circle shrinks. Not because you planned it. Gravity does it. People earning similar money cluster around similar choices, similar schedules, similar problems. You begin spending more time with people who understand this level without translation. And that is comfortable. That is also dangerous. Because the less you explain your life, the easier it is to forget how unusual it became. One night, someone from your old neighborhood says, "Must be nice." They say it lightly. You hear everything inside it. The gap, the accusation, the grief. You want to explain the taxes, the pressure, the hours, the stress, the way this life costs more than it looks. But halfway through forming the sentence, you stop. Because you know how it sounds. At $250,000, you can be lonely in a room full of successful people. The seventh rule. The higher the salary, the smaller the circle. And the smaller the circle, the easier it becomes to mistake distance for peace. Level 8, $500,000. Money becomes invisible. You do not check prices. You do not check balances. You check time. Time is the new currency. What saves hours? What protects attention? What can be outsourced? What is worth your presence? Your problems have names that sound fake to people below this level. Capital gains, estate planning, trust structures, liquidity events. You did not learn these words because you wanted to. The money required a new dictionary. People treat you differently now, but they pretend they do not. Banks answer faster. Advisors call first. Invitations appear from people who used to be unavailable. The world becomes softer around the edges. Doors open before you push them. That softness can ruin your memory if you let it. You remember $20,000. The room, the declined card, the job listings at midnight. But remembering it is not the same as being reachable by it. The person you were then would not recognize the way you complain now. Delayed wire transfers, bad service at a hotel, a tax bill that could have paid for someone else's entire year. You are not evil. You are adapted. That might be worse. The eighth rule at $500,000. Money does not buy happiness. It buys distance from the problems that once made you understandable. Level 9, $1 million. $1 million a year. You do not say it out loud. Nobody at this level does unless they are selling something. The number exists in tax documents, wired payments, private conversations, and rooms where people speak carefully because every sentence has weight. You are invited differently now. Not socially, structurally. Your opinion matters because your capital can move. Your name matters because it can open a door for someone else. Your presence changes the temperature of a room before you say anything. This is the part nobody tells you. At the bottom, money controls your choices. In the middle, money expands your choices. At the top, money turns your choices into consequences for other people. You can fund a company, save a family member, change a neighborhood, damage a relationship, become a symbol in someone else's story without trying. Reach is not comfort. Reach is responsibility with better furniture. You think back to the person making $10 an hour, sitting in a parking lot, eating something cheap between shifts, refreshing job listings under a cracked phone screen. That person thought the salary ladder was about numbers. It was not. It was about what each number removes and what each removal reveals. At $20,000, you wanted breathing room. At $35,000, you wanted stability. At $50,000, you wanted more. At $75,000, you wanted quiet. At $100,000, you wanted meaning. At $150,000, you wanted freedom. At $250,000, you wanted belonging. At $500,000, you wanted time. At $1 million, you realize the ladder never ends. It just gets quieter. And the higher you climb, the harder it becomes to hear the person you were at the bottom calling your name. Somewhere right now, someone is making $10 an hour. They are opening a banking app in a grocery store. Their transfer is pending. The cashier is waiting. The line is waiting. Their face is calm because they have practiced being embarrassed without moving. They think the number is the problem. And it is. But it is also the beginning of a question. What would change if the number changed? What would stay? And who would you become while climbing away from the version of yourself who had no choice but to survive? Hit the subscribe button and let's figure that out together.